Well, we have a world-class field here if this was a sprint, but it isn't. This is a half mile, and it's going to take its toll on each and every one of these runners.
This is going to be a fun race to see what happens. I mean, here you have James Lofton, who's out in the lead right now. Herschel Walker, who is a great 60-yard dash and 100-yard dash man, on his shoulder. And then Carl Lewis. Now, here we have a guy who's won 4 Olympic gold medals in track and field.
And none of those medals, Bruce, in this event right here.
Yeah, well, that brings up an interesting point. You think Carl Lewis should run away with this event. But actually, his training for the 100 is totally different than what a half-miler would do. He doesn't run any distance whatsoever.
No, in a sense, a half-mile run to a sprinter like Carl Lewis is really a marathon, Bruce.
It certainly is. Right now, the guy out in the lead is James Lofton, and he's probably the guy that should be out there. He's not only an All-American in track and field and a great wide receiver for Green Bay, but he's also in very good shape. In fact, we saw him in the Super Teams competition not too long ago run a quarter-mile, but he was in great shape.
Remember, Bruce, style is so important when you run a race like this, and you can see that each one of these guys try to run pretty, but at this point in the race, all that style is getting ready to start breaking up.
No, the backs are going to start tightening up. The hamstrings are going to start to go, and we'll see what happens. Right now, Herschel Walker is just sort of trying to come up on the shoulder of James Lofton.
Did I mention style? Get a load of Billy Blanks here. He's experimenting with all different kinds of running styles.
I think he's out of this race. James Lofton has the lead. Herschel Walker second, and Carl Lewis now is making his move on Walker.
Carl Lewis in an event foreign to his skills, a longer run, a half-mile run, twice around this 440-yard track. But James Lofton, who was one of the finest quarter-milers in America as a collegiate at Stanford, is lengthening his lead.
Yeah, but I wonder what James Lofton is thinking right now. Led the whole race, but right behind him, as he looks over his shoulder, he sees Carl Lewis, the fastest human in the world. And he knows he's got some sort of kick left, but Lofton looks over his left shoulder, sees Lewis coming, and has enough to hold him off. Lewis looks over his shoulder, looks like he's going to be satisfied with second place, but James Lofton wins it.
Lengthening that stride, Lofton finishes first. Carl Lewis is second. Here's Herschel Walker, finish.